whatever. People say different ways. So I'm DePale. I've been on the platform since 2011. And obviously, I've been working on the Universal Roblox project since about 2016 and continuing to do so. And I was also a Roblox intern doing the accelerator program, and I made a game with that program called Real Strategy. And yeah, that's what I've done on Roblox. I mean, fill in blanks here and there, but yeah.
I'm gonna start calling you the Polly.
How dare you?
All right, I guess I'll go next. I'm assuming my mic is working. Hello, everybody. Hey, everyone. My name is Procro. I am the creator or the lead developer for 5 Nights at Freddy's After Hours and CT Towers, and even though I mostly primarily work on Roblox stuff, or on theme park stuff, I like to branch out and try other things. I'm also a environment artist for Games Unite, and I've also have a bunch of other theme park and non-theme park related personal projects as well.
Okay, so I think that's our presentation for now. So before we start with the panel, let me explain a bit how this will work. So first, we will have a section which will be basically a developer panel where we'll basically be conversing about different things. Then at the end, probably around so when there's like 45 minutes remaining until the end of this event, which we plan to take around 2 hours, maybe a bit less. We'll have a Q&A. The way the Q&A will work is if you see, well, in the chat, there's something that says Q&A. I don't know if you can see it right now. But basically, once I will enable it, and then you'll be able to post your questions, and you'll also be able to vote for them. I would recommend that if there's a question you guys like, and maybe you want to have us answer, you upvote it, because you can upvote questions, because this way, since we will be ordering, at least I'll be ordering them in like most voted ones, so it's easier for us to like handle all those questions. I do recommend you upvote them just so it's easier for us to see them. So let me remind you, I'll remind that when we start the Q&A, but we don't plan to talk about like in concrete things about like new projects we're working on or doing new announcements. Those will be done in their respective places.
Oh man.
Yeah, sorry, Andrew. We can't announce Shrek 4D now. So, well, I think it's time to start. So, okay, so let's start with our first question, basically. So, what got you all guys into like theme parks, and mostly like what got you into Roblox theme parks? And did like theme parks get you into Roblox theme parks, or was it like the other way around?
I guess I'll go. I think I remember as a kid, so I live in Orlando, the Orlando area, so I basically my entire life been surrounded by theme parks. And so I guess I remember being told as a kid, like before I was even old enough to ride anything, I would sit in the child swap and just like stare at the ride, like in awe. But I guess, I don't know, I think Roblox theme parks, the reason why I got into them was probably through, I guess I started with Roller Coaster Tycoon, and then I started playing Roblox, and I realized that I could, I don't remember exactly when it started, but I remember I could just like look up theme parks, and I think the first thing that came up must have been I don't remember what it was. It was like it was like I think it was a Six Flags theme park that was like from a really long time ago. And then I remember finding City Walk, actually, Andrew's like original City Walk game. However long ago that was, where they had it was like the recreation. Yeah. I remember that, but I guess I don't know. It just kind of crossed over, but I do remember like I've always had a big thing for actual theme parks. But yeah.
Yeah, so for me, surprisingly, in the span of about 3 weeks, pretty much everything convinced me to be a theme park fan. The first thing was I saw Expedition Everest under construction at Animal Kingdom, and I was kind of amazed by all the, because it's a fake mountain, so it's all steel and steel track going everywhere. And then I think about a week later, my grandfather bought me a laptop with Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. And so I think that was my entire summer was just building Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's kind of like what Grapey said. And then I didn't actually. So my cousin found Roblox, and at that time Roblox was wasn't great. And one of the first games I played in Roblox was actually by the Uncommon One, which is our clothing designer for our game Universal Roblox. And he actually built Shikra from Busch Gardens, and he recreated it. It wasn't good, like the entire thing would derail. But eventually, over time, I got to see Roblox improve. And then Carthay, if you guys remember him from Blue Sky Stellar, he built, I think the first thing was Matterhorn. And I was like, wow, you can actually build like really good detailed, attractions with theming and with effects and whatnot.
Space Mountain, the first one?
Oh, yeah,
or Space Mountain.
Yeah, those are both good.
Yeah. Whichever one it was, I think that really changed the game from just building roller coasters to actually making them look nice. And then what eventually convinced me to do Universal was I visited Halloween Horror Nights in 2013. That to me was like, I remember leaving and I went like the first thing I said was I have to come back every year because Horror Nights was amazing. But the second thing was, man, I want to do this like every day of the year. I want to be able to, show it to other people who can't come to the actual park. So eventually I went on and created Universal on Roblox.
You're gonna hear the same repeat story from me about Roller Coaster Tycoon, because that was another big thing in my life when I grew up. I always loved watching, at least when I was younger, my dad would play Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and I would sit there and we'd have these play sessions, and I would always bug him, can we please play Roller Coaster Tycoon, like update the park? Yeah, so that was one of the things that started off, and I think one of the things that got me in Universal development was when the Wizarding World opened at Hollywood's Universal in 2016. That's when I got inspired to start working on theme park stuff. I mean, I had always been involved with both real theme parks and the Roblox theme parks. And I think here's a funny thing. I don't know if anyone can one-up me on this. I was 13 days old when I rode Pirates of the Caribbean, or Pirates of the Caribbean, however you said it. I was 13 days old. Can anyone beat that? I don't think so. But anyway, yes, I was kind of just both into it because I guess I was a theme park enthusiast at 13 days old.
Oh, you meant 13 days. I think you meant 13 years old.
No.
I thought I'm like, everybody's been one.
No. I was 13 days old when I was brought on Pirates for the first time.
New record.
I know, it's crazy.
So, could you, how did your parents hold you?
I honestly don't know, because I don't remember my 13-day, I don't remember that, but
Obviously.
I'm just joking around. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't asked the specifics, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. No, yeah, 100% it was Pirates. We've talked about it a lot of times.
Wow.
I guess I'll go next. So just like everybody else, I also played a bunch of Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2 on the crappy family computer I had when growing up. And then a few years later, I got into Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and that blew my mind. And for a good part of my childhood, I've been just growing up with that game. On top of that, I used to live, before I moved during the summer, I lived in Southern California, and I was near Disneyland, Universal Studios Hollywood, all these great theme parks. And all those were like huge parts of my childhood, and like all super nostalgic, and just honestly, and just really incredible things to grow up around. And around early 2013 is when I started playing Roblox. And I remember like just finding like any theme park game I can find, and I remember finding stuff from users like Indie Raccoon and One Wolf One Person. Those theme park games really blew me away as a kid, and even to this day, like they still blow my mind, and considering they were made back then. And I think around like 2019, 2018 is when I started to take development a lot more seriously, and I ended up like just going full force with like theme park stuff. And honestly, I've been learning so much about coasters, dark rides, trying to learn as much as I could, and honestly, it got me to where I am today.
So I think my case is a bit different. So I had played like Roller Coaster Tycoon, only like the demo, which I like kept downloading all the time to play like. But in my case, it was a bit strange. So I wouldn't always been fascinated by like coaster panels. It may sound a bit strange, but like I remember, I think it was in around 2015 when I was like, oh, I'm gonna make my coaster panel. I'm gonna release this, and this is gonna be really nice, and everyone's gonna use it. So basically, I started from panels. Then I got like I started working at Duet. I started like doing recreations and stuff, and that like got me. So in my case, it was more Roblox theme parks that got me into like theme parks in general. But I had always like I remember like buying the like early access preview to like the game card that he made to the Blue Sky Seller, which is still to this day one of the best recreations I think there's on this platform. Had an amazing developer team. So yeah, I think
Yup.
mine is
It's still probably top two with Universal Roblox, of course.
and LeBron James theme park. Let's not forget that one. Okay, so let's go to our next question. So, what do you think about like theme parks in general, Roblox? Like, what have you seen them? Have you seen them like change a lot from since when you started like getting interested in them on this platform until nowadays?
They've gotten so much better now. I remember, for example, when the first theme park I went to was it was Six Flags or something, and none of the rides would work. And if they did work, they'll make it maybe to the third loop, and it would just crash. And now all of a sudden, we have people building, dark rides like Alien Tech that are not just interactive, but they actually work and they're actually good. And arguably, they're better than what was in Roller Coaster Tycoon and even in Planet Coaster. So I think they've gotten from being probably the worst theme park games into arguably the best in general.
Yeah, no, I just love finding new theme park games and just like going in them and seeing everything that's brand new, even if it's not great. It's really cool to see like because theme parks are huge. So when you build them on Roblox, they're like it's pretty cool to see all this new game, I guess, like when you find it. So it's really fun finding new ones, and I love seeing people build new ones too.
Yeah. Adding on to it, Andrew said just the theme parks that we used to play. In early Roblox, you had those tracks that were the block stud tracks. Like the track was literally just a block, right? And like the train, the
Six
train,
Flags over Roblox.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then like the train was just like maybe two, like the wheels were two cylinders on top and bottom of the track, and it would derail every 5 seconds. Yeah, we've come a long way since then.
Like one car.
Or
Yeah.
riding a coaster, like wishing that no one hits the regen.
Yeah, you used to have regen
God,
things
yeah.
to
Like
respawn
that
them.
was basically just luck based that you could complete the coaster.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we actually finished a full circuit. Oh my gosh. So,
And then someone regened it on you, so whenever you got off, you have to regen it for him, so he has to
yeah, you just gotta
ride
keep
it.
going back and forth, fighting each other.
Right.
So I think relating to this and something to like what Gravy said, it's like has there been something you've recently like found out or something you've been following for a long time that you're quite like interested in related to coasters. Can be like a park, a ride, like a tool, a system, etc. Like for example, in my case, in the coaster team, there's this guy called Shark who's doing a new C-frame system, which he's trying to like make it open source, which I think is really interesting. And for example, there's this group who's recreating Europa Park, which I've seen some videos on it and some of the things that they're doing, and it sounds like a really cool thing they're doing, and it looks really nice. So I'm actually quite looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go ahead.
Okay. There's this guy, Creep Nation. He's actually making his own Universal Park, which I think is super cool. And it's like, I think he has like all of City Walk done, and then most of the actual park done. And I just like it because, first of all, he's moving so fast. Like he's got a park done in maybe a month or two, and it's pretty good. It's good quality for how fast it's coming out too. It's really cool to see it like come into fruition, because I love Universal Parks, and just seeing one with all these, like, it's like a dream park basically, with like all these rides that are not actually real, but inspired.
Yeah, and don't worry about.
What's he gonna say?
There's been things that for a while I think we were considered to be, Universal Roblox, some of the best creators, and then over time we've actually been our level of detail has either been met or been better than what we do. So I always like to see what other people are doing. Like in the Coaster Team channel, I always look over the creations tab. I don't actually comment, because if I start commenting, people start asking me for help and whatnot. But I do like to see what other people are working on, because it allows us to be more creative, but at the same time allows us to see, just how far the theme parks have come in Roblox. But we're always open. I mean, I love competition. I know some people don't really like it. They want to be the best. But I think in order for theme parks in the future to, in Roblox, be better, there has to be competition. And in the past, for example, I remember when Universal Roblox opened, the Hulk, or at that time it was called Battlestar Galactica, it would crash every single day. So eventually, the Epic Twin, who I consider a part of Mount Rushmore of Roblox theme park people, he was doing the C-frame system, and I was like, man, that's not going to happen. It's impossible. It just won't happen. And now all of a sudden, everybody's doing it. And he's improved our game, and pretty much in general, the entire community, to be so much better.
So I think this opens so when you've mentioned the C-frame thing, I think this like opens the debate that there's in the community about physics versus C-frame. So I would like to know your opinion about it. So I think the good thing about physics, for example, is that it's really easy to do. So it's really easy to like make things, and it's like integrated and it works. Well, usually it works. And then there's C-frame, for example, which, if done correctly, it like ensures like a lot of reliability. But usually, it comes like that reliability comes with a like at the expense of functionality. So, what is like your guys' opinion on this? So, what do you think about like the debate on like physics C-frame?
Not to. You go first. You
No,
sure you
thank
go.
One thing that I feel like should be taken into consideration is the theme park community is a massive community full of diverse developers of all skill levels. So whether you make it, so physics are great for learning developers wanting to try new things, learning, and C-frame could be perfect for higher quality theme parks and other things like that. And personally, I don't think one is better than the other. Of course, one is obviously more professional, more reliable, but the physics allows the user to learn a lot more about development in general, and it's like a great beginner tool and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. I was gonna say, not to spoil anything, but I think you know what Andrew and I's opinion is on physics and in C-frame because you can just ride the rise of Universal and you'll see what they use. But no, in all seriousness, I think I like physics a lot in the way that like you can just do things and you're trying to do them realistically, especially with the new improved physics, right? I like it a lot. And it's really, really cool if you're trying to do a full recreation. Like imagine someone does physics and they do actual friction breaks and actual like that would be I could be wrong. Maybe someone has done that.
Yeah,
But,
I think the biggest challenge in doing that will probably be the chain.
oh, like a chain lift, like an actual chain lift.
More than
like
like doing the chain
I think that
lift
was
itself,
made.
which has been done, is the fact of keeping it like running
Oh,
smoothly.
yeah. It'd be
Because
really, really
especially
cool.
with all those like connections and hits, it's quite performant, at least on Roblox, to calculate. But I would have, I think Naplet had done
See, I
one
could
of
have been
those.
proven
And if I
wrong
remember
live.
correctly, I think Wolf did one, and yeah. But it's something I like actually wanted to do. One time I was like, oh look, let's calculate the forces needed to do like a magnetic launch and do it like in physics. Then but then it just went into the like drawer of ideas I want to do but never actually do. Which I think everyone here has a big one. But yeah,
Yes.
I think it's like when you do something in physics that works nice and it's like something that is like hard to do, I think there's a bigger satisfaction in a way. I do with C-frame. But like C-framing something, as I said, is like you know that it will work. So for example, I think for something like of the scale of like Universal, of like WED or other big parks, which have like a more than a community player base, a more like general player base, I think it's usually better to maybe go to C-frame just because of like the reliability of it and that it doesn't affect the so you know that people won't have a bad experience just because it doesn't break.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so what do you guys think are one of like the main or like what are the main challenges when doing a theme park on Roblox?
I would say, I mean, I've never done a theme park, but I've done large projects before. But I would say, and this is with any project, motivation, really. Like, people, I see a lot of people try to make a theme park or a big ride, and they're very ambitious. Me, myself, too. Like, I've gone through this, too. They're very ambitious at the beginning, and that's common. And then you realize, like, 6 months in, you're still working on it. You're not even close to finishing, and then you're like, I don't really want to work on this anymore. Like you get tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. So that's why it's hard to continue a project that big. And I think some people just don't plan properly before they actually start it. So they like, there's definitely people who've proven me wrong on this, but it's hard to just do your park on your own out of the blue. Like I'd prefer to have a team with me to keep my motivation going and like work together on completing such a large project.
Yeah, I was hoping I could answer this question because I always see this and it bothers me. Uh, you're not gonna do an entire theme park by yourself. You're just not. Like when I first started off on actually doing a Universal on Roblox, I thought that I would be able to recreate the entire Universal Orlando Resort in a matter of a year, and it took me a year just for like half of City Walk. So then I eventually, I got bored with the recreation stuff, and so I decided to do my own take on Universal Park, and even that took forever. And over time, I was like, man, I need help. So I eventually got Crane to help me, uh, you know, uh, Simon and Sonoma and all these different guys, and then and then the POW, of course. So just don't assume that you can do everything by yourself. You could, but it probably won't be at the level of greatness that you would assume it would be. And just having different opinions on whatever you do is always great. I know that in the theme park world of fans, we all want our ideas to be the ones that get built. But sometimes for it to actually happen, you need to compromise. So yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the big problems people have when like making a ride or a theme park is, I think like setting, in my opinion, like setting deadlines for things like this, it's okay. But in my opinion, it's like set a deadline once you know that one you'll be able to reach it, and that
Yep.
it's like a reasonable deadline. Like in my opinion, like it's like, oh, let's do this project and we have to have it done in 27 days when you haven't started anything. I think that's one of the worst things you can do, because deadlines in this way, they just like, they really like burn people, and it also like forces you to do a worse thing than what you could have done if you could have just like spent a month more or 3 months more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it took us 5 years for an alien tech, so you could imagine.
Yeah, it took
we
like 3
wanted,
years for Haunted Mansion to.
yeah, we wanted it to do it the right way, so we have to take, slower time.
Yeah, and I think something, I think people should like, and it's hard to like understand of it, is like, don't be afraid of pausing a project if you need to like wait. Like, for example, Haunted Mansion, one of the reasons it took so much is that we actually had some pauses in development because part of the team wasn't available. And I think that like having paused that and not just said, okay, let's try finishing with someone else, I think that was like one of the best decisions I took in that project, because if I think I had changed the development team, other than I would have in a way been betraying the original people who had helped me, um, it would have been a worse product. So sometimes it's just better to pause and just wait a bit than just like continue and try to rush everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like for one of our 2022 additions to our park, we haven't set a date for it because we just don't want them to rush. So, we allow them to take their time as long as, we hopefully could open it this year, but if not, there's always next year.
Yeah, no, that was the issue I had with Spider-Man. I think I announced it for 2021, and I put 2021 on there.
Wasn't it
Assuming-
2020? I think
It may be. Honestly,
I think it was.
don't
I think it
remember.
was. I think you announced it around like June 2020 because we
Yes.
had that show competition at Wrap Up with the new ME.
Right. And I was like, oh, it'll be done by then. And then like a month before, and we have like hardly any more progress. Or I mean, we have plenty of progress, but just not enough to finish. And obviously, I was like, oh, that's not good. So now we're like, what, a year later, and we're a lot closer now, but I'm still not
we
there.
still have
I'm
ways to go.
Yeah, I'm not going to set a release date until like I know.
Yeah. The thing that sucks about
Like that.
Spider-Man though is like, even there's so many demotivating factors in creating a ride that ambitious.
Right. No, we've learned a lot too. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
it's been a long process, but of like teaching ourselves how to do all these things that I did not know were possible, and we went through many different renditions, but it's good now. I'm glad.
I can't wait to see that because, I've spoken to DePau about this, about how it's very, since Universal Roblox is really the only full theme park, we rarely get to see other people's work. So
Right.
I'm very excited for whatever you guys have planned.
I
It's
think
like, I
also
love
one
it.
of the things that you brought up, Grape, is the fact about like being being too ambitious with some things. And I think here we've probably all suffered from it. Um,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that you learn through the time, not only in like theme park development or Roblox, but on like in general, is like just to like not be too ambitious with your stuff. It's like it's okay to set yourself goals, but just don't set them like too high. Maybe then you are like, oh, I can do this, and maybe I can do a bit more. But I think it's just better to not push yourself too much, because that again will only make you get burnt and just basically just abandon the project.
Right. And I think we've all, I don't know how everyone started their projects, but I know for Spider-Man, it was definitely that I went to Universal and after a long time, and I went on Spider-Man, and I instantly texted Pro. I'm like, we're making Spider-Man. And like a day later, I started building it.
No, I remember
Little do
you
we
were
know.
you were talking on it. You're talking about it on Discord, and you were like, "Oh look, I found the video for the first scene."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. Back when we thought, yeah.
Back when
Who thought it was gonna be
we
that easy?
Back when we thought we can actually use Roblox videos.
Yeah, no. What? They're still not released, aren't they? They're like,
Only the pre-made ones.
oh my god.
Yeah, you can't upload videos yet.
Yep.
Plus, I would assume they would be really restrictive anyway,
Yeah.
because
Plus,
videos.
in any ways, you can only like have 2 per client active.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it
I'm
would
glad
be really
yeah.
annoying to work with.
And then there's also the limitation that it has to be flat because it's a Surface GUI, or it's a GUI, so it like
Right.
can't be curved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I'm glad we decided to use actual sets instead
Yeah,
of
of
instead of
course.
screens, because I remember what it looked like when we had just like flat white blocks for the screens, and it was not good, especially the ending. It was not good. So now it's gonna be great. But I feel like everybody gets to a point where like they do something in real life where like maybe they go to a theme park or they just see a video and they're like, I want to make this really bad. And like my advice for that part, because everyone will just want to start like instantly go right in on it. I would, if it's a big project, I would like wait and like plan out how you would do it before you just get started and start going, because you'll end up being like 3 months down the line and you'll be nowhere near like a good amount of progress, and then you'll be so burnt out you don't want to finish it anymore, and then now you have this like unfinished project that would have been so good had you planned it, or had you just like waited a little longer and just like pace yourself.
I think also a big problems I see in like many people is that I think they announce stuff too soon, because in a way it's like it's a double sword edge, because it's like in a way it's like, oh yeah, so people get interested in it, and like building hype is one of the best things you can do for your project, because building hype is like hype is one of the easiest way to advertise your project without having to spend anything to advertise, and it's also a way that like, because it's like it's a thing that feeds itself, so you don't have to like actively promote it. But in the same way, it's like, oh, you announce this, and now it's like, oh, if you just end up canceling it or delaying it, then people like will be pressuring you, and you'll be pressured to finish it early, so then you'll just end in a worse product. So I think one of the things that you should like try to do is always like not announce things too soon, and announce them, and also don't announce them too late. Like just don't finish a ride and say, oh, tomorrow we're opening this, because then you're wasting all this potential, as I said, hype, which is a way for people to like know about the thing, get interesting in your project, and also share it.
I think we.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You're
No,
really
you go.
wanting
You
me.
go.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
you go.
I think everyone knows that we have a history. The Universal Parks. We have a history of announcing something when it's clearly not even started.
Super Mario.
Well, okay. Alien Attack is probably the best example, because what we announced it in 2016, it was like there since the opening, the park opened, and then it opened in 2021. But as Andrew mentioned, that was just like we had to work a lot on thinking about how we wanted to do it, and we never thought what we could currently do was worth doing because of the technology and then our skills. We just didn't want to start it until we knew we were 100% going to get what we wanted. So that's why it took so long to like finally start it. But yeah, like Roger said, you have potential. You have total potential to hype it up, but don't do what we did and announce something 5 years before, unless you were like certain that it's, because basically at this point we don't announce anything until it's like 95% done, or even nearly 100% done. Like we finished all the components. So that's why you may not have heard stuff from us recently, because we are working on stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, like first of all, at least Alien Tech took faster than what it's taking Tron to build. Second of all,
jeez.
Second of all, like we're working on a couple projects right now, and we could literally show off parts of it right now, but we just won't, because we just don't know. Something could happen. Like for example, Forbidden Journey, it actually worked the screens pretty good. The same with Shrek, and then an update happened, and it was all pretty much had to change at the last second.
Yeah, Forbidden Journey was a mess. We've talked about it so many times. Um, yeah, I don't know. You could find information about that on different streams and stuff we talked about, but TLDR, uh, don't try to make videos in Roblox with images that are 1920 by 1080. Don't do
Yep.
it, especially when you want it to be like 30 or 40 FPS. It's too
At least
Too
now,
much.
now it's easier to upload them, because I remember for like Tower of Terror, when I did like the ghosts, the ones that were waving in like the hallway. So that was before you could like bulk upload technically things like images to Roblox. You could technically select multiples, but it would like fail if you selected more than 3. It would fail like 90% of the time.
no, yeah. I just meant
And the thing is that before, like now, it tells you, oh, you're uploading too much. You can't upload for like 1 minute, and then it like progressively gets better.
no,
like,
yeah. Like the
bigger.
uploading
But
process
before,
sucked, right?
before it didn't tell you. It was just like, oh no, there was an error uploading, and it will block you for a day.
Yeah. And you like that was always a problem was the uploading, which by doing how many uploading however many we had
like,
to upload, you got
I
used to
I
it.
really like 200 images for like 30 seconds.
Right.
Well, and see, here's the thing. The uploading was like something that we got used to. However, the real problem was, like I said, we were trying to do like 1920 by 1080 pictures and try to do like a 30 or 24 or 30 FPS. I don't remember what we were doing, but that's a lot of like trying to put this in the most basic terms, like memory.
Yes.
It's very hard for most computers to handle that
And also
many
for it
images.
to like load on time.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
So
another thing I had. So I had to like experiment with like many ways. So this, for example, I'll give you a tip for this if anyone wants to, which I don't recommend. So if you guys want to have like multiple, like do a video through images, if the images like aren't transparent at all, just play with Z index. Have them all loaded at once and play with Z index. Because, but if it's transparent, then the best way is just actually just move, just have like just C frame it into view and out of view, because in that way it's loaded, but and you don't have to like load it every time you like put the image on, because at the end, if we're talking about like 200 images for like 30 seconds to 300 images, we're talking about like one image for every 0.1 or 0.2 of a second. So like loading that much images is just not possible.
yeah, and that is exactly what we did for Forbidden Journey, except there was like 600 at a time, and they were huge images, meaning it would take at least like 3 gigabytes of memory, which you can't do because phones usually don't allow, like some of the lower end phones use like maximum of 1 gigabyte. So we already had to make the screens worse for mobile devices had, everything worked out. So don't do it unless you're working with very small images and you don't need that many frames. Just don't do
Or
it. It's not
use
good.
sprite sheets.
Or use sprite sheets. So sprite sheets
Which-
are really hard
Which,
to
for example,
do.
Napit is, I'd say, is one of is like a master of sprite sheets, because I don't know if you've seen his shows. He's recently released Harmonious, which, as you know, is basically a video based show, and he was using sprite sheets for all those.
But yeah, see, but that's what I'm saying. Sprite sheets are like easy in practice, but they don't look as good.
Yeah,
because they're
that's the
way,
thing.
you know,
It's
they
like
have
sprite
way
sheets are
smaller.
more for things that are far away.
Yeah.
Or
If they're
if
far away,
it's-
they're good.
And I think one of the one of the things I mentioned here is so going back to like development tips for when building a park or something like that. Something I think, well, most developers know, but if someone is like, oh, I want to build something, the main audience for theme parks on Roblox plays on mobile, usually like low mid end mobile. So making a like, oh, this is a super detail. For example, let's say we were recreating a Disney castle, and you were like, oh, I want to make it super detailed, and instead of like using material or texture for the bricks, I'm gonna place a single brick for each. If that doesn't run, so a project can be all the goods can look amazing and be as good as you want, but if it doesn't run, then it's a bad project. And the thing is that you need to optimize things a lot for mobile, because mobile tend to crash a lot, especially Apple products. And I'm not saying that, but like statistically, Apple products crash more on Roblox than Android. But there's something that I think a lot of people like miss, which is like optimizing their things. And this is something I wanted to ask you to
Yeah.
put. So, and I'll also ask the other, because you're more builders than scripters. And so, what do you guys do to like optimize your things? Because I know that at least I don't know if the Pale can confirm, but builders like sometimes they build in a way which drives the scripters mad because
Don't ask Andrew. He didn't optimize anything.
But yeah, so what do you guys do? So what do you do, for example, to optimize Universal or other projects you work on?
I'll start off. So when we
Nothing.
first created Universal,
He doesn't do
What?
anything.
Okay. when we first created Universal Roblox, I'm not a scripter. I'm more of a builder and a designer. I care more about how the park looks versus how it runs. That's part of the reason why I ended up getting the pal to be on the project, because he was really good at all that stuff. So I remember, all the systems that we had were just horrible, and eventually, the pal was able to just fix it and actually make the game work. And then a couple of years ago, we started to realize, and it was really the pal who would create this initiative, was that the majority of Roblox players started to be from playing on their phone versus on a computer, which meant that we had to now focus on actually making the game playable for them. Because, there's no point in trying to be a popular game when, let's say, I think right now it's like 70% of people on Roblox end up playing on their phones. And so, we didn't want to market the game just to 30% of all players. We wanted to market it to all of them. And so I think for an entire year prior to Hogsmeade, it was in a world opening. The PAL spent about a year fixing the game just for mobile players. And I also think that and I know this is my opinion, Roblox isn't for detail. If you want to make a game, you can do it for yourself and for your own designs, but you shouldn't expect for a game on Roblox to be popular that's highly detailed. It just unfortunately won't happen. That's my opinion.
I think this is true in a way, so it's more like about balance, but not especially with like new tools. For example, the material service. There's also surface appearance, which has its downsides too. But I think and textures, things like that. So I think it's more than like building detail. I think it's like putting detail in a smart way. So you don't have to, for example, for a roof, you don't have to put every shingle. You can use a texture. You can use PBR for it.
Yeah,
So I think it's like using all the tools you have to your advantage, because
Yeah,
there's
like,
many ways of doing things.
like Crane, when he joined my game, he would put AC units on the roof that had like a gazillion parts. Like it would actually have boats and all that. And I sort of had to told him, like, we're not trying to get too detailed here. We're trying to make the game as
Quick
a
little
wide audience
modern
as
story about this. When we were working on Jurassic Coaster, we had an argument with Crane because
Was it about the fins?
Yes, how did you know that? Did he talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he made,
Oh,
you remember those? Okay, so the LSM launch fins, the things that propel coasters on the the launches, the magnetic launches, those silver parts on the track that would accelerate the train. For some reason, Crane put every single individual one was like, do you remember how many triangles it was? Anyway, he put like a crane. He put a crane logo on like the bottom left of all of them. That was like 50,000 triangles for every single LSM launch fin. And we were like, Crane, you can't do that. Can't do that. So optimizing. Then So we always have the arguing between the scripting side, the ones who are like, hey, yo, can't do that, and then you have the builder side. It's like, I just want it to look good. Come on.
I can relate to that. And there's two ways of handling that, just like discussing with the team, or just like once they don't look, you just script something so it changes it.
Oh yeah. And like just to be clear, like when I say argue, I don't mean like we're at each other's throats or anything. We're like everything is, we all argue in the same way. We're all appreciative of each other. We, it's constructive arguing, and we're kind of just joking around most of the time. But yeah, we see a lot of people have, internal drama in their projects, and that's something that's really, really hard to get over because a lot of people just causes problems. I don't know. And that's just something that's Universal is very successful for, I think, is because we're like a group of enthusiasts who all love parks, who are just working as a group of friends. So.
Yeah, and if they don't agree with the pay, they just get fired, and so there's no drama
Oh.
ever.
Oh no.
The thing is, like, when you have a team, you need to be on like a friendly basis with them, because if you're all disagreeing on something, then you're not going to get your work done. And that's why, I know I'm talking about Spider-Man a lot, but that's why with Spider-Man I've tried to keep it like a sort of a mutual team, so where there's no one really leading, except of course like I'm gonna like try to help set boundaries or like with dates when things need to be done. But for the most part, everyone's kind of just like we're all on one level. Like I don't think of as myself higher than anybody else on the team, even though maybe I don't know exactly how the project was created because it was so long ago, but I think it was like me and Procro who were like the originals, and then obviously since then we've been adding more, but everyone is still like at the same level, and I don't like treat anybody, at least hopefully, differently on the team, because I listen to everybody's suggestions, and there's been many times where people, including Roger, have been like, that's dumb, like let's do this instead for Spider-Man, and we've done that. Like I don't know I can't name anything exactly, maybe they can, but I have definitely like, because I'm not like the brains of the group, I'm more like
I think, for example, something like the triggers, which were like touch based.
Oh yeah, and the lighting, oh my god.
Yeah, you need to fix the lighting.
Yeah. But I just like the building. So it's the same thing that Andrew said a little bit ago. I focus more on the building, and that's why I have a bigger team now, because I can have people yell at me when something is a little too performance heavy, and we can fix that as a group. And I don't take anything like an offense, because I know it's a team and then we all need to work together, and sometimes it's not like super smooth, and that's just how it is. But yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, so Procro, were you gonna say something?
Oh yeah, so pretty much just I was just gonna go over like just like a little bit of like how important optimization is, and you guys covered it like really well. But like with like optimizations and theme parks, like just like the little things that you can do really just helps. Like for example, like CT Towers is a passion project, and like my development skills have gone up drastically ever since I started the project, and over the time of developing, I would notice little things I can optimize that were made or when I first started working on the project. For example, mesh. I used a lot of mesh trees, and for some reason, I had all of the collision fidelity set to default, which was not good, especially since there were literally hundreds of them everywhere. So just by changing that, I already made the game a lot smoother, and a bunch of other things as well. Reducing a lot of stuff like reducing unnecessary or deleting unnecessary parts, other things, just little things can help your game drastically.
Yeah, like I'm pretty lazy. You can ask this about anybody in the Universal Roblox team. And so when we were building Jurassic Coaster, the part at the back where the Pteranodon sort of cage is, initially it was just rock work. That's all it was. And then Simon, he's really good at trying to get us to do things that are a bit more creative, sometimes things that we can't do. So it went from rock work to being that entire sort of a Pteranodon sort of a cage. And I always hear it from Uncommon or DePau or Good Evening especially, and now Brad developer, pretty much every day telling me, Andrew, this doesn't look good. Like, come on, you gotta do better than that.
Yeah, I know something that triggered Brad a lot was so Andrew used to have most of the signs via Zcard, and he would just like have like 10 of them, like just to simulate depth.
It's called 3D 2D signs.
Oh my god.
2.5D. 2.5D.
2.5D.
So yeah, so I think so. One of the things Procro said is that so it doesn't look, it may not look that much, but for example, setting all like the collision fidelity of meshes that you don't need, that for example that any mesh that has or union that has no collision should automatically have its like collision fidelity to a box. Uh, because it's really just is the difference from calculating I don't know how many triangles to six, to like six faces. And it's things like that, or for example, lighting. Feature lighting looks great, and I've actually argued a lot with builders about that. So feature lighting looks great, yes, but feature lighting is really laggy, and it's going to be more optimized, but it's not optimized, and it has a lot of memory leaks, which I know the Pale knows about. So
Mhm.
it's just like balancing. So, what does this thing do? How does it affect the game, and how does it affect like playability? And going back also to the thing about like Gravy said about like leading the team, I think one of the things that is hardest when you're working on a project is like knowing how to lead a team. Because I've I've been in many projects and I've seen a bit of everything. So I've seen people who are like they want to like act like very no, you do this because I say it, and you will do this for this. And the thing is that I think people need to remember that most of these projects, especially on the theme park community, because let's be true, most of for a few exceptions, um this would like most of the theme parks here are not done for like money, for making money. They're done just because of fun. um yeah, give me a second, my connection isn't stable. Okay, now. And the thing is that the people who are working not for you but are working with you are doing it of their own time, of their own free will, because they want to help you, or want to build something with you. I think that is something a lot of like people who are trying to do a project with others should learn, which is that you're not more important than the rest, and that people are not obligated to work for you because you're not paying them. So I think one of the first things I'd start when doing a project is just try to be humble. Like, don't have a big ego. Don't say, "Oh, look, let's do this because I say it." Like, it's okay to do like, "Okay, we should do this because like," and you explain your positions, but just don't force things on people just because you think they work for you, because they don't work for you. They work with you.
That's a good way to sum it up.
Okay, so let's move to another thing. So yeah, so let's talk about a bit about player retention. So I like to know your opinions a bit, especially like Andrew and Pale, because you guys have more experience with this. So what do you like, especially right now that there's more like mobile players who like a lot of stuff related to roleplay, that they have things to do with their friends. So what do you think are the key aspects or key like things to like have a good player retention?
Okay. So we don't have good player retention. And that's something we're focusing on this
Yeah,
year.
yeah, because that's also a big thing from theme practice. Like
Yeah.
it's a cool thing, but people are like, oh, let's do this, and they never come back.
Yeah. And
I'm
this
working
is
on it right now.
yeah. So that's what we're working on. That's like a main focus of this year's development time. We've been talking about this for years, and we're finally starting to do something about it. But so basically, here's how people play. Here's the universal players. We have people who find it from recommended on Roblox, who just, oh, it's fun. I found a theme park game with rides of rides, and then they never come back again. And that's not really good for us because they're done. Then you have the next group of people who, come back every time we release a content update, which is a good thing because, we release Alien Attack and then a bunch of people come to check it out and then, oh, it's done. Okay. Then you have like the third group, which is the people who join our Discord, probably people who are in this call right now or in this meeting thing right now. And, they check the park all the time because it's just like a fun thing to do. And, Andrew and I and the whole team are kind of on the same page where we just like going to the parks. It's fun to do. But that's not every Roblox player. So, what we're trying to focus on this year is an actual gameplay loop in Universal, which is not really a thing that exists right now. Like the only thing you could really say is a gameplay loop, which is pretty bad, I think it's pretty terrible, is the ride leaderboards, right? So, if the person who rides the ride the most in one day, they get Unibucks in the game if they are the winner of the day or whatever. But that's a terrible gameplay loop. That's like a boring gameplay loop. Like riding the same ride over and over and over to beat someone else. I think that's kind of. We only did it because we wanted there to be some way to get Unibucks for free, but I don't expect that specific aspect to stay around much longer because of what we're working on right now. But the whole point is gameplay loop. We want there to be a reason to keep playing. We want there to be a reason to keep coming back, and we're working on it right now. That's all. I don't want to go into specifics yet, but there's some cool stuff we're working on.
I think like one thing that is like a popular game loop, and like people may not like for example Bloxworld for many things, but when I worked at Bloxworld for for a couple of years, and one of the things that I think they did really good, and for example also like people like Passy with Haiti Park is jobs, and jobs are really are something that actually like brings people in again, because it's like, oh, I can actually do things here and I get rewarded, and then I can like share this with my friends, and it's like, oh, look what I have. So things like, for example, jobs, if you're looking to like, oh, how can I make people like return to my game, things like jobs, things like, for example, something that Universal has a lot, which is like the emblems or limited things, which like force people to come back. And in a way it's also a way to like, oh, look what I have. For example, I have the Tapel emblem, and I can show it to everyone that I have it and that you don't.
So yeah, about the jobs, like that, I guess I will go into that because that is something we're focusing on this year. Can't make any promises because we don't know how it's going to work out yet, but we seem to have figured out what we're going to do with jobs. So I'm okay. There's a lot of like moving pieces to it, but we want to do jobs where it doesn't affect the player experience. Like we don't want people to, let's say, operate rides or something that affects other players who are just experiencing the park. We don't want to like break the game for people who play it right now. We're trying to like incorporate both aspects of the game at the same time.
For example, right, when we did like the ride operation jobs for like the for Roblox Point Remastered, so that was especially for like the coaster operator job, that was one of the main issues we had for like, also how can we introduce this without like having someone just sitting in the seat and just like blocking it for everyone and ruining their experience. So yeah, it's a bit of a balance, like everything.
Yeah, like one of my when I first created this game, I actually thought that it would be possible to staff an entire park, like literally, a bunch of operators, security, characters, things like that. And you quickly realize that you just can't do that because it requires so many people, and
it's not stable.
That, and we're a 24-hour operation. We can't just close the park, so it has to be like more fun than actual work, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and this is something that we're still talking internally about, but we currently have like the role play community positions right now, like the guest relations, the tour guide stuff, that is like probably the only thing we have for player retention is for the keeping them together and keeping people interested in, they want to participate in the community. So I feel like I've been pretty vocal about my opinions on it. I don't like the community positions because they're kind of like they represent us, like the development team, when they don't actually, they're just like community positions and it's not scalable. And I always felt like it's kind of hard to work with a bunch of people where, let's say we have 30 guest relations If there's like a park and then like randomly one day there's 100, okay, maybe if all 30 are on, they can go in and like act like their guest relations and answer questions or whatever. But let's say the game reaches 1,000 players one day, like there's a ride opening. Those 30 people, it just doesn't make sense. They're barely going to be anywhere in the game. So I like roleplay, like the roleplay's positions, but I don't see them lasting much longer, if that's
Yeah.
the best I can say.
That reminds me of very early on when Universal opened. I remember being a scare actor for like, I don't know if it was the first or second Halloween Horror Nights, but I just remember
the scare actors.
it was a little bit of a mess. Like it was really fun, but I remember there being like people being yelled at or whatever for like being in the wrong zone or something, or like taking like it was very hard to trust all these people to actually do what they were like supposed to do, and I guess people were like being like the wrong actors in the wrong area or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to say though, that is like, I mean, okay, especially now. Think about this idea in like the modern time. I'm not saying I'm like a metaverse bro or anything, but that's like it's like such a unique thing where you have people like, that is a metaverse kind of idea, you know?
Mhm.
It's a really unique idea that I don't think is possible. It's not scalable, but it's a really
Right.
cool idea to have people like do. I don't know. It's very unique. I still like that idea, but I don't see it working for scalability problems.
Right.
Yeah, and not only like scalability, I think it's also it's a bit about like the weakest link of your project is usually a human part. So like for example, I think it's a really cool idea to like have Halloween Horror Nights be like have like actors which are like actually people and like visitors who visit it, but it's just like the last Halloween Horror Nights that you guys did, for example, how many days did you do? They like maybe 20
How many
something
events
days.
there were? Yeah, it was
that,
probably something around that.
and
30?
like I don't know how many days the original one was, but at the end it's like you would always like need
Yeah.
a number of actors. And for example, this is something I actually like. I was talking with Nate some time ago about, because Nate usually like, for example, his old Phantasmic, he used like actors from his group and everything, and I was like, yeah, this is nice, but in a way it's like there's a problem because then you depend on them, and you can't have like, for example, now we run Phantasmic at what 2 times a day because it's fully automatic, and that's something we couldn't do before that. Maybe we did like once a week or a month. So
I guess what could be done, but then again, I don't know how good it is.
it's like, yeah, like having it. Oh, if this person's not here, have it be an NPC. But
yeah, they just have to be replaceable.
yeah, and going to NPCs. So Procro, you're experimenting with NPCs on the park. So I would like to know about. So what do you think about like are the future into like having NPCs interact with people and have that bring like parks to life?
Oh yeah. So right now it's just experimenting and other small things. Sorry. Right now it's just experimenting and other small things with NPCs, just messing with pathfinding service and other things like that. But I feel like by having all these like actual people in your park or NPCs in your park really just makes it feel alive. Not to mention with like possible jobs and other things, it can honestly add like a whole new level of interactivity to Roblox theme parks, and I think that'll be really cool. And honestly, like I don't know if I'll ever go to this level of detail, but I can imagine like programming the NPCs to like have like a day plan throughout the park. So they'll go through the park, go on this ride, and then okay, they want to eat something, so they'll head to a restaurant, another section of the park, and stuff like that. And there can be parties, there can be other things like that too, and they'll find points of interest, other things like that. And I feel like it'll be like a really cool thing to add. Of course, I'm nowhere near the level. I'm nowhere near creating something that advanced yet, but who knows? Maybe in like a year or two, I might be able to give it a shot.
I remember seeing that. I was like, oh, I need to do that. Which comes back to the thing. It's like we see something and we want to do it, and then we just put it in a drawer to not like open again. But it's like I really want to do that, and I think, for example, that is something that would be relatively easy to do with like behavior trees.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so I think we're reaching the end of the panel section. So I'm gonna ask some.
Yet, but
I'm gonna
who knows? Maybe
start
like a
like
year.
trying to finish the questions. So I want to know your guys' opinion on like the impact of like new technology coming to Roblox on theme parks. So things like video frames, or animated faces, wall meshes, the new clothes system and thing.
So I'll just breeze through because we're trying to finish this part for the Q&A. Clothing looks really cool. It's going to be hard to adapt to it, though. It needs to happen because it's going to be really cool, but we'll see. The second one, layered. Sorry, I was just talking about layered clothing. The faces, the animated faces look like they could be really cool. Again, another hard thing to move into because we're not used to it yet. I think my favorite thing that's coming out recently is material service. It's going to make things look better. They're going to run better than if you were trying to do the exact same thing with textures and decals. And I don't know. Material service, best thing to ever happen right now.
For those of you that don't know, material service is just a new service Roblox is adding, which allows you to use like custom materials, which have like PBR, which is physics-based rendering, which is basically you can have it like just even if it's a flat texture, like render in a way so it looks like it has like it's 3D, it has like it's like roughness effects. So it's a way of like increasing the details with like just basically actually probably reducing memory usage.
Right. And I think like a lot of people hate on a lot of new stuff coming out because they're always very they want to keep the original idea of Roblox, which was it's far gone now. And basically we've seen like when anything new comes out, it gets a lot of pushback, but then it comes out and people love it. Like so I think there's a lot that's being released, like video frames and stuff like that. That was did you hear that? I need to move my chair back. There's a lot of things just being released that are going to be really great, like video frames, and the layered clothing is be really cool. I'm also most excited for the PBR texturing because that's going to be amazing. Or the whatever it's called.
Something I think is also really
Yes.
interesting is all the bone meshing and all the bone like. I think that's also a really interesting thing because maybe Procore you can talk about it because you're like the animator of like the person who best animates here. So about like how like because the thing I thought about like animating, for example, when I animated all the characters for Haunted Mansion was that it's like, oh, I wish I could like have all this thing be one and it like bent and everything because before it was like just blocks that just moved to it.
One thing that's really exciting about all like the mesh deformation stuff is you can really create some high quality animations for your rides, and not only that, it'll also help just like ease the process a bit better. I feel like with Roblox adding more support with animation and other things, it'll motivate more Roblox theme park devs to incorporate higher quality animations, or at least put more effort into them. Because one thing I've been seeing a lot with Roblox theme park, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they don't really put a lot of I don't know a good word, or just like not a lot of effort into
they miss on the small details.
Yeah, and I feel like just not just animation too, just other general things. It'll push other devs to try new things and put that little bit of extra effort into their theme park, and I feel like that'll be really cool seeing that.
Yeah, so for example, one tip for everyone here, for everyone who's listening, if you want a character to look alive, more than so bring them more alive, make them blink. It may seem silly, but like a character that blinks and a character that doesn't blink, there's a huge difference in like having it like look alive in a way. I don't know if you agree, Crow.
Oh yeah, 100%. I actually have I did a little experiment not too long, about like a half a year ago now, 6 months ago, where I do have like an animated face using different sets of decals and parts. It was just a fun little thing, and just by adding that along, you're gonna see that with an update. Hopefully plan on adding the CT towers, if not a future project, which I might talk about later. But you'll see NPCs blink, talk, or at least make facial expressions and stuff like that.
So I remember I actually like copied the. So for example, the way the Fail did mouths for the last Halloween Horror Nights, if like my theory is correct, is basically it's just a cylinder which like resizes in size. So it looks like the mouth is opening and closing. And I remember I actually like went to look at how he did it for when I was doing the pre-show for Rock and Roller Coaster, which Simba animated. But it's like so like the animation itself looked great, like with the static faces. But I think it's like it's the small details that bring it to life. So the blinking, the moving, so the mouths that like move. And I think once we have like the animated faces, that is something that would be really interesting. It'll be much harder to do. I think it's maybe so with the tools that we have right now, it's going to be a bit hard to implement. So maybe if we have like more like tools that the ones that have when they animate things, which are like more like with other software like Maya and all of that. But I think it's those small details that bring things to life. And in the subject of animation, Crow, I would like to know like having done FNAF and having like done partially Spider-Man. So what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages from like having a fully animated dark ride like those? And
Oh,
what are the things like you've learned and or maybe would change if you would do it again?
so I'm glad you bring that up. So some of you might know, but I am working on like a remake or just like a complete, yeah, just a complete remake of Five Nights at Freddy's After Hours. But by having animation, high quality animations, and just having animated elements in your dark ride, not only just improves the quality, but it also allows guests and other players to be fully immersed in the ride. Even, I mean, they know they're riding a theme park ride, but having them still immersed in that environment could be really cool. So just having these high quality animations in your dark ride just really helps with that. And with Five Nights at Freddy's After Hours, I'm talking with a few friends of mine, who one of them being an actual incredible animator. He's gonna help me out with some of the animatronic animations and all that stuff too. And overall, I think it'll be just really fun doing that, just having even more high quality animations. And it's not just for like general things too, like animatronics, of course, but like also other things like props, ride vehicles. Just animating those can add so much to your ride. And you don't have to be an incredible animator to animate small things. For example, like a bit of scaffolding, like tilting over boxes
Yeah, for
or
example,
something.
I had no idea how to animate. I learned how to animate doing Haunted Mansion. And I think I preferred animating than rigging because rigging like 50 something, 60 something fully like custom rigs is
That's
tedious.
why the bones are so much better.
Yeah, it speeds things up tremendously.
Oh yeah, and like we wanted to. I remember one of the main focuses, which we know now is not something that you see in Alien Attack. I was pretty like set in stone. Like we're not making Alien Attack until all the rigs can be bone mesh deform, and then that didn't happen because it was going to take too long and it was going to be too expensive. So
Yeah.
I couldn't die on the hill. I had to let it go. But we did it for Jurassic Coaster. All those raptors are they're all bone based.
You could
Yeah,
say
definitely.
they're made of flesh and bones.
Yeah, they're real raptors.
The
guys,
real
come on.
raptors.
Come on.
Time travel just to get them.
Yeah, we had to go back in time just to put them in the game.
Yeah, Jurassic Coaster is a great example of how much like just even though like small animations like the Velociraptors and stuff, they add so much to the ride, which made it 10 times better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love seeing the raptors like jump up and stuff when you're passing by them and like the little quick section in the beginning. It's just fun. I don't know. I like it.
It just adds so much, and it's such like a small thing too, like just little things, but like it just adds a tremendous amount, making your ride 10 times better.
I think one other thing that is like really like underrated, which really is basically one of the biggest game changes, is sound. Like you can't have a good ride, park, everything if you don't have a good sound design.
That's true. I agree.
Definitely.
I've been wanting to do so many rides, for example, Rise of the Resistance, which I just decide to not do because, for example, I don't have enough sound for it.
Yeah, that's just a big project regardless of what you do or don't have. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah. Or for example, something like having something that is like the right so that you can rewrite it and have like different experience every time. So for example, for Jungle Cruise, one of the things we want to do is have it so basically there's almost like no chance that you have the same ride every time. And I think that is one thing that also like brings retention up, because it's like also people actually like have the incentive to come back because they'll have different experiences and not the same thing once, like over and over again.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to actually do. We don't do that enough in our rides. I think Alien Attack is like the best of the best that we've done when it comes to stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, because there's like different dialogue lines at the end. Just it's all score based and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It adds like
that is
another
true.
layer of detail to that ride. It made it a lot better.
Okay, so to close the panel section, I've been thinking about this question a lot, and it's basically a joke question in a way, but I want to know your opinion. So basically, in the community, it's usually joked that it's hard to exit the coaster community, so the Roblox theme park community. That like you may like eventually like you may manage to stay away from it, but you always come back to it. Do you think that is true? And why do you think that
Oh, I would
is
love to
true
talk
or
about
not
this
true?
one. So, with me in the theme park community, I always end up going back to it because personally I enjoy it, and it has taught me so much about just regular development as outside of theme parks. It's just incredible. I mean, like, just and overall, it's just fun. It's just a fun experience making theme parks and rides and other things like that, and getting to work with so many people who has uh, the same passion for theme parks as you do, and just that alone just makes it that much more of an enjoyable experience. Is why I always go back. And of course, there's tons of drama and other crap, which is why I'm not as active in the community as much anymore. But it's still something I enjoy a lot, and I think it is honestly just very cool. And I don't have a problem returning every now and then.
Yeah, no, like, um, I mean, I know I say like after Spider-Man, I'm not gonna do another ride, but I'm pretty sure like once I finish Spider-Man, I'll be like, oh, I'm bored now. Like, let me start a new project, and then
I bet you will only last 2 days without a project.
yeah, no,
Probably less.
I have a good feeling that I'm gonna find a new one. So
Yeah, like after Alien Attack, I thought I was done. That's why I handed over the group to the POW. And now all of a sudden we're working on like 100 different things.
Yeah, surprisingly, I think this is the most work we've had at one time, like going on. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of things going on. I don't want to explain the detail because it'll be more surprising. But yeah, leaving the
It'll
community,
be epic.
not easy. It'll be epic, yeah. But no, when it comes to like leaving the community and stuff, when I finished Alien Attack, I was pretty sure that we were just gonna like let the park, that was it. We were gonna step away and we were gonna start working on new stuff. But here we are coming back to it. So you're right. It's not really easy to leave.